Welcome everyone to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe, share, and give this video a thumbs up. Also, please don't forget to hit the notification bell so you'll know right when a new story is uploaded. Please enjoy the continuing story in episode 3 as we get right into it. Pasha and I have been living here now for about 300 moons. We now have a young one of our own. His name is Grainin. He is 100 moons old now. Life here has thankfully been very peaceful. There has only been one run-in with humans down hundreds of paces away, but we were able to get hidden and stay safe. But that all changed one morning. I got up early while it was still night and went outside the cave to soak in the crisp, cool air. It was supposed to be a great day. However, in the distance, I noticed a little light that seemed to be moving around a little. I went closer to see what it was, and I could see that it was fire. There were humans sleeping in tiny little shelters all around the fire, and they had their tools out with them. I've never seen anything like it before, so it was quite intriguing. I came in a little closer and must have made a noise. One of the humans woke up and saw a brief glimpse of me as I ran away. They yelled out and woke up the rest of the humans. I could tell they were very afraid. I hid in a nearby tree and just listened to them. Most of what I heard sounded like blabber, but again, I could understand certain words, and I didn't know how I could. The human I scared said the words Sasquatch and stinks. I knew that was to describe me, but again, I still didn't understand how I could understand some of what the humans said. They all destroyed their shelters and got inside their rolling cage and left. The fire was still going, so I kicked some dirt over it to put it out like we do with our fires. I made my way back to the den and Pasha was now awake. I told her what happened, and she said I needed to be more careful. That's when suddenly we both smelled fire. I looked out the den, and in the direction I came from, the fire was big. There must have been more humans that made fire and left it without burying it. It seemed to have made fire in the trees and bushes around it. This was very bad. I've only ever heard about the Great Fire story that has been passed down the generations. We were now seeing it. The fire just kept getting bigger and bigger, and soon there was smoke everywhere. I knew I needed to protect my family. We got a few tools and Grainin and ran away from the fire. It pained me so much to leave the home we made together and flee. All the forest creatures, including our species, were running away from it. After a few hundred paces, I looked back, and the fire was eating the entire area where our den was and everything around it. Our home was now gone, and we had no choice but to run back to the mountain of banishment we ran away from. I feared the fire more than I did Thaden and Kelkar. We arrived back into the mountain of banishment and went back to her mother's den. The smoke could be seen from there, but we weren't in much danger from the fire. Pasha's mother, Plina, told of a time many moons ago when a fire swept through her previous territory and how they survived it. We were happy to be together and to be safe. We settled in for the rest of the day and slept there that night. I got up the next morning to scout out a place to start a temporary home for my family. I found a beautiful spot near a stream that Pasha would love. There was only one problem. It was full of snakes. I spent the rest of the day cleaning it out of the snakes, and most of them were not happy. But I succeeded in making it somewhere comfortable and safe for my mate and young one. We stayed there for 2 moons, got acquainted with what's around us, and I scoped out the area to make sure I didn't see any rogue creatures that would pose a threat. The next night I heard a branch crack slightly and some leaves barely rustle. So I went out of the den and looked up. In the tree there were 2 cougars. Both of them were staring right at me. I came completely out of the den and stayed quiet so that Pasha and Grainin wouldn't wake up. I walked up to the tree and told them I wanted no trouble. Both jumped down and started circling me menacingly. I said in a deep, angry voice, "I don't want trouble, but I will do to you what I did to the last cougar I came across. Don't think I won't end your lives." The larger, older-looking one responded, "Oh, we know what you did to Thamek. We just wanted to see you for ourselves. You're not a big one, but you are a ferocious one, aren't you? There won't be any trouble. Tonight." They let off some yells almost instantly and disappeared into the night. I knew we wouldn't be safe there. I had to keep on high alert at all times to keep my family protected. The next morning, we decided to leave to find a safer place. As we were walking, 2 warning whoops came from nearby. It was Pasha's mother, Plina, warning us. But of what? Well, I got my answer very quickly. About 50 paces ahead, standing right on the path we were, was Thaden. He was staring right at me. We locked eyes and I walked straight towards him with Pasha and Grainin behind me, 1 pace. I get up to him with our eyes locked on each other. I stop about 2 arm lengths away. There was silence for what seemed like 10 moons. He broke the silence with a simple, yet reasonable question. "Why didn't you end my life when you had the chance?" I paused and kept looking at him. I replied, "Because you were once my best friend. I still view you as my brother." Thaden's face softened and relaxed. His eyes started to well up with tears, and he extended his hands toward me. I stepped toward him, and he stepped toward me, and we put our hands on each other's shoulders in a display of affection. He started to cry and tell me how sorry he was for the way he acted, and how stupid he was as a young one. Seeing me made him have all those feelings again, and he got so angry that he couldn't control himself. He had been so angry with everyone that he had a reputation of resorting to violence at a moment's notice. That day, several moons ago, when I let him live, and the other males told him of it, he realized how foolish he had been, and how much he really missed what we had. I guess I reached his heart. We spent the next 2 moons catching up, and him getting to know my son. I had so much relief and felt like I had my best friend back. The next day, Thaden and I went out to gather berries and bark. We were talking about the past and having a good time when we stopped dead in our tracks. Up ahead, headed our way, was Kelkar. He looked rather angry. He also had 3 other large rogue bears with him. He let out a roar and yelled, "You should have ended me, you stupid ape!" He and his goons started charging full force at us. Thaden yelled for him to stop and go home, but Kelkar kept coming. 2 of the bears charged at Thaden and began attacking, and Kelkar and the other bears started attacking me. It was a brutal fight. For every punch I landed, I was swiped twice. Kelkar swiped me across the chest as I punched him in the head. The other bear bit down on my leg and started swaying side to side. That dropped me to the ground. Thaden was having better success than I was. I was able to elbow the bear in the side of the head with full force, and it dropped him down unconscious immediately. Kelkar then managed to lay a bite right on my arm as he stood up on me. I could tell he was having some difficulty biting because of how I injured him all those moons ago. Even with that, he was a powerful bear. Thaden had ended the life of one of those bears and just thrown the other bear into a tree, knocking it out completely. Kelkar reared back to try to crush my chest. Just then, Thaden wrapped his arms around Kelkar and heaved as he picked him up off of me. Kelkar swiped back at Thaden and cut him in the face. Once Thaden dropped him, he turned around and stood up and lunged at Thaden. I was down on the ground trying to catch my breath from the weight of Kelkar on me and the injuries I had. Thadden grabbed Kelkar and lifted him up again to try and break Kelkar's back. As Kelkar started thrashing around, his weight caused Thadden to lose his footing. He fell backward with Kelkar in his arms. I could only watch helplessly as Thadden fell straight back onto a thin, broken tree stump sticking up. It pierced his back and came out his stomach into Kelkar. Thadden yelled out and dropped his head back. His grip let loose and Kelkar rolled off onto the forest floor, barely alive. I managed to get up and get over to Thadden. His eyes looked into mine, and with his last breath, he said I had always been his brother. I put my head down and yelled louder than I've ever yelled before. With that, I ripped a branch off a tree and ran it right into Kelkar to finish him off. Pasha, Grainin, and several others came running to the scene. All I could do was kneel down beside my once best friend. After we mourned for a little while, a couple of other males helped me bury Thadden and the bears. I felt sorry for the bears for having so much anger and mindless hate. I will truly miss my friend Thadden. What happened between us taught me to forgive and not hold on to things and destroy a friendship. These experiences would serve me as I deal with my son as he grows older. 3 moons later, as we were out gathering, I saw someone approaching in the distance. As they got closer, I was completely shocked. It was Zinnik. Why was he here? Was he here to get even? Was he banished now too? I had no clue why he was here. I found out as soon as he got close to me. The news that he had for me would change my life forever. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. My name is Matt. I hope you enjoyed my story. Your generosity and support is much appreciated, so please hit that subscribe button and like my video and share to your social media. I'll catch everyone in the next video.